Good morning, students. Hope you all have watched the previous video of this chapter and understood the concepts. Now let us move a step further and study about historians and their sources. Historians use different types of sources to learn about the past depending upon the period of their study and the nature of their investigation. They still rely on coins, inscriptions, and architecture and textual records for information. But there is also considerable discontinuity. The number and variety of textual records increased dramatically during this period. They slowly displaced other types of available information. Through this period, paper gradually became cheaper and more widely available. People used it to write holy texts, events of rulers, letters, and teachings of saints, petitions, and judicial records for registers of accounts and taxes. Manuscripts were collected by wealthy people, rulers, monasteries, and temples. They are placed in libraries and archives. Archive is a place where documents and manuscripts are stored. These manuscripts and documents provide a lot of detailed information to historians but are difficult to use. There was no printing press in those days, so scribes copied manuscripts by hand. As scribes copied manuscripts, they also introduced small changes. These small differences grew over centuries of copying until manuscripts of the same text became substantially different from one another. This is a serious problem because we rarely find the original manuscript of the author today. We are totally dependent upon the copies made by later scribes. As a result, historians have to read different manuscript versions of the same text to guess what the author had originally written. The study of 1000 years between 700 and 1750 is a huge challenge to historians, largely because of the scale and variety of developments that occurred over the period. At different moments in this period, new technologies made their appearance, like the Persian wheel in irrigation, the spinning wheel in weaving, and firearms in combat. New foods and beverages arrived in the subcontinent: potatoes, corn, chilies, tea, and coffee. Remember that all these innovations, new technologies, and crops came along with people who brought other ideas with them as well. As a result, this was a period of economic, political, social, and cultural changes. This was also a period of great mobility. Groups of people traveled long distances in search of opportunity. The subcontinent held immense wealth and the possibilities for people to carve a fortune. One group of people who became important in this period were the Rajputs, a name derived from Rajputra, the son of a ruler. Between the 8th and 14th centuries, the term was applied more generally to a group of warriors who claimed Kshatriya caste status. The term included not just rulers and chieftains but also soldiers and commanders who served in the armies of different monarchs all over the subcontinent. A chivalric code of conduct, extreme valor, and a great sense of loyalty were the qualities attributed to Rajputs by their poets and bards. Other groups of people, such as the Marathas, Sikhs, Jats, Ahoms, and Kayasts, also used the opportunities of the age to become politically important. Throughout this period, there was a gradual clearing of forests and the extension of agriculture, a change faster and more complete in some areas than in others. Changes in their habitat forced many forest dwellers to migrate. Others started tilling the land and became peasants. These new peasant groups gradually began to be influenced by regional markets, chieftains, priests, monasteries, and temples. They became part of larger, complex societies and were required to pay taxes and offer goods and services to local lords. As a result, significant economic and social differences emerged amongst peasants. Some possessed more productive land, others also kept cattle, and some combined artisanal work with agricultural activity during the lean season. As society became more differentiated, people were grouped into jatis or subcastes and ranked on the basis of their backgrounds. And their occupations ranks were not fixed permanently and varied according to the power, influence, and resources controlled by members of the jati. The status of some jati could vary from area to area. Jatis framed their own rules and regulations to manage the conduct of their members. These regulations were enforced by an assembly of elders, described in some areas as the Jati Panchayat, but Jatis were also required to follow the rules of their villages. Several villages were governed by a chieftain. Together, they were only one small unit of a state.